I didn't fall in love with her. I noticed her. That was how it began. That was how it stayed. People think obsession announces itself, loud, reckless, desperate. They're wrong. Obsession is quiet. It watches. It learns the angles of a room, the habits of a soul, the exact second a person becomes vulnerable. Her name was Ayla. I didn't learn it from her. I learned it from the barista who hated her job and loved gossip more than sleep. Ayla ordered the same drink every Tuesday evening. Americano, no sugar, extra water. She never finished it. She never thanked anyone. She left exactly 47 minutes after she arrived. The first time I counted, it was curiosity. The second time, it was routine. By the third, it was ownership. She sat facing the window because she didn't want to see people, or maybe she wanted to see them before they saw her. Some people pretend to hide while secretly waiting to be found. Ayla was like that, soft on the surface, guarded underneath, a bruise pretending to be skin. I sat 3 tables away, close enough to observe, far enough to remain harmless. That's the trick. You must always look harmless. Her phone vibrated often. She never answered immediately. She read messages twice before responding, as if searching for traps between the words. When she did reply, her thumbs hesitated, as if honesty frightened her more than lies. She wore rings she constantly adjusted. Anxiety has small rituals. So does guilt. I wondered which one she carried. On the 4th Tuesday, she cried. Not loudly. Ayla didn't strike me as the kind of woman who believed her pain deserved witnesses. Her tears slid down in disciplined silence, one after another, like they were trained to obey. I didn't move. That part is important. People rush toward tears, thinking it makes them good. It doesn't. It makes them suspicious. Pain needs space before it accepts company. When she finally stood up to leave, she dropped her book. It landed near my foot. I picked it up slowly, careful not to startle her, careful not to smile. "Here," I said. Our eyes met. That was the moment. Not because it was romantic, because something in her broke just enough to let me in. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was steady. Her hands weren't. I noticed both. "You're welcome," I replied. And then I did something dangerous. I added, "You come here every Tuesday." Her pupils widened for half a second. Fear? No. Surprise mixed with relief. Being seen frightens people until they realized they wanted it all along. She hesitated, then smiled. A small one, controlled. "Yes," she said, "I do." "My name is Elias." I didn't offer my hand. Touch too early confuses the balance. "Ayla," she said. She left after that, 2 minutes earlier than usual. I stayed. I always stayed. People think obsession moves fast. It doesn't. It builds scaffolding. It lays foundations. It prepares for storms that haven't arrived yet. I learned Ayla lived alone, 3rd-floor apartment, corner unit. I learned her neighbor was a retired man named Mr. Kasim, who smoked on the balcony every night at 9. I learned the elevator broke twice a month, and she took the stairs without complaint. I learned she worked at a publishing firm that specialized in memoirs, other people's stories, other people's confessions. That kind of work teaches you how to listen while staying untouched. Or so she thought. I learned she had a boyfriend. His name was Rayan. I didn't hate him immediately. Hate requires emotion. I felt something colder. Assessment. Rayan was predictable. Finance job, gym routine, loud laugh, public affection. Men like him love in ways that feel impressive from the outside and suffocating from within. He posted her photos without asking, tagged her locations, called it pride. I called it negligence. The first time I saw them together, Ayla was quiet. She nodded while he spoke, smiled when expected. Her body leaned slightly away from him, like a truth trying to escape gravity. He kissed her forehead. She didn't close her eyes. That told me everything. We began talking after that, slowly, safely, always in public. I listened more than I spoke. People reveal themselves when they think silence is permission. Ayla told me about her childhood, a mother who loved conditionally, a father who disappeared quietly, no drama, no goodbye. The most damaging exits are the polite ones. She told me about her job, her insomnia, and the way she sometimes felt like she was watching her own life from behind glass. She did not tell me about Rayan. Not at first. That omission mattered more than any confession. One evening, she finally said it, casual, almost careless. "I'm seeing someone," she told me, stirring her untouched coffee. I nodded. "Do you love him?" She laughed, too quickly. "I don't know," she said. That answer is louder than yes. I didn't interfere, not then. I didn't need to. Time does the work if you know how to wait. But someone else didn't wait. Her phone rang that night while we were talking. She silenced it immediately. The name flashed briefly. Rayan. Her shoulders tightened. Her breathing changed. "You should take it," I said gently. She shook her head. "It's fine." It wasn't. Nothing fragile survives neglect forever. Rayan noticed me soon after that. Men like him always do. He watched the way Ayla laughed differently around me, quieter, realer. He noticed how she listened when I spoke, how her eyes didn't wander. He noticed, and it wounded his pride. That's when men become dangerous. Not violent yet, just reckless. He confronted her first, accusations disguised as concern, jealousy dressed as love. He asked questions he didn't want answers to. She cried again that night, on the phone, with me. "I feel like I'm disappearing," she whispered. "You're not," and I meant it. "You're becoming visible." I didn't tell her the cost of that visibility. There was another woman watching too. Her name was Mariam, Rayan's sister. She didn't like Ayla, never had. She believed women like Ayla, quiet, observant, inward, were manipulative by nature. She watched me watching them. She noticed patterns. Mariam had sharp instincts and a vindictive patience, a dangerous combination. She smiled at me once, too knowingly. That's when I understood something important. This wasn't a love story anymore. It was a convergence, and convergences always end in damage. Not yet, but soon. People think tension arrives like a scream. It doesn't. It settles in first, like dust you don't notice until you're breathing it. After the night Ayla called me crying, something shifted. Not between us, we had already crossed that invisible threshold, but around us. The world recalibrated, the way it does before something collapses. Small signs, hairline fractures, glances held too long, silences that felt intentional. Ayla stopped pretending. Not fully, not bravely, but enough to matter. She didn't rush to reply to Rayan's messages anymore. She turned her phone face down when we talked. She arrived earlier on Tuesdays, as if afraid the cafe might vanish if she didn't guard it. Guard us. I noticed her guilt before she admitted it. Guilt has posture. It curves the spine, narrows the shoulders, makes people smaller than they are. Ayla had always taken up little space. Now she was trying to disappear inside it. "You don't have to punish yourself," I told her once. She looked at me, startled. "For what?" "For wanting more than what you're given." Her lips parted. She closed them again. That was the thing about Ayla. She felt everything deeply, but spoke selectively, like words were debts she feared she couldn't repay. Rayan, on the other hand, spoke too much. He called me one evening. I didn't know how he got my number. I didn't ask. Obsession respects initiative. "Listen," he said, without greeting. His voice had the strained calm of a man who believed he was still in control. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but you need to back off." I leaned back in my chair, watching the city lights blink like nervous eyes. From what? From her, he wanted to say. From what he thought he owned. "I'm a friend," I replied. Truth is flexible when spoken carefully. There was a pause, then a laugh, short, bitter. She's not your friend. She's confused. Confusion is another word men use when women stop obeying the version of them that felt convenient. I think, I said slowly, she's clearer than she's ever been. Silence. Then, softly, you don't know her. That almost made me smile. Mariam watched from the margins. She didn't confront me directly. She didn't need to. Women like Mariam don't waste energy on dramatic displays. They collect evidence. They ask questions that feel harmless. They let people incriminate themselves. She followed Ayla on social media, not openly, through a secondary accounts with a name like Booklover 1987. She noticed timestamps, likes that appeared too quickly, patterns that suggested priority. She noticed me, too. One afternoon, I found her standing outside the cafe, smoking with deliberate slowness. She looked up as if she'd been waiting. "You're Elias," she said. I nodded. "I'm Mariam." "I know." That earned her a look, interest sharpened by suspicion. "You seem attentive," she continued. "My brother isn't blind. He doesn't need to be, just honest." Her smile thinned. "Careful. Men like you mistake curiosity for entitlement." I met her gaze. "Women like you mistake possession for protection." For a moment, something dark flickered behind her eyes. Then she laughed, flicked her cigarette away, and walked off. She would remember that moment. So would I. Ayla ended things with Rayan on a Thursday. She told me on Friday, hands wrapped tightly around her cup like it was the only solid thing left in the world. "He didn't take it well," she said. "They never do." "He cried," she added, as if that complicated things. Crying is not repentance, it's resistance in another form. "He said I embarrassed him," she continued, "said I led him on." I watched her closely. "And what did you say?" She swallowed. "Nothing." Silence again. Always silence. Sometimes silence is survival. Sometimes it's surrender. Ayla didn't yet know the difference. Rayan didn't disappear after the breakup. He hovered, texted late at night, showed up unannounced, apologized with gifts that felt more like bribes than remorse. He wanted closure. People always do. What they mean is control. The first real fracture happened a week later. Ayla didn't come to the cafe. Tuesday arrived and her chair stayed empty. 47 minutes passed, then an hour. I checked my phone. No messages, no apologies. Something tightened in my chest. Not panic, but calculation. I left early. She didn't answer when I called, or the second time, or the third. Her apartment lights were on. That mattered. I stood across the street, watching the third-floor window, waiting, observing. A shadow moved inside. Then another. 2 silhouettes, one taller, broader. Rayan. I didn't feel anger. Anger is sloppy. I felt something colder, sharper, a recognition that the board had shifted. Minutes passed. Then the balcony door slid open. Rayan stepped out, rubbing his face, agitated. He paced, lit a cigarette, crushed it halfway through. Ayla followed him out. She was crying. Not the quiet tears I'd seen before. These were uncontrolled, messy, the kind that leave bruises on the soul long after the face dries. Rayan grabbed her wrist, not violently, firmly. Ownership disguised as desperation. She pulled away. That was new. That was dangerous. I didn't intervene. Not yet. Because this wasn't about saving her in the moment. It was about ensuring she would never be put in this position again. Rayan left soon after, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. Ayla stayed on the balcony long after, alone. He didn't call me that night. She came to see me the next day. No makeup, sunglasses despite the overcast sky. She sat down without speaking and slid her phone across the table. There were messages, dozens, from Rayan. Apologies, accusations, promises, threats disguised as concern. And one from Mariam. You don't know who you're dealing with. Ayla's hands were shaking. I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wanted to breathe. I looked at her. Really looked at her. This was the moment where stories usually diverge, where someone says, walk away, where they choose safety over truth. I didn't do that. You're not wrong, I said quietly. You're just early. Her lips parted. She closed them again. That was the thing about Ayla. She felt everything deeply, but spoke selectively, like words were debts she feared she couldn't repay. Rayan, on the other hand, spoke too much. He called me one evening. I didn't know how he got my number. I didn't ask. Obsession respects initiative. Listen, he said, without greeting. His voice had the strained calm of a man who believed he was still in control. I don't know what you think you're doing, but you need to back off. I leaned back in my chair, watching the city lights blink like nervous eyes. From what? From her, he wanted to say. From what he thought he owned. I'm a friend, I replied. Truth is flexible when spoken carefully. There was a pause, then a laugh, short, bitter. She's not your friend. She's confused. Confusion is another word men use when women stop obeying the version of them that felt convenient. I think, I said slowly, she's clearer than she's ever been. Silence. Then, softly, you don't know her. That almost made me smile. Danger rarely announces itself. It introduces itself politely, waits for you to relax, then rearranges your life while you're still deciding whether to trust it. After that day, Ayla stayed closer to me. Not physically, she wasn't reckless, but emotionally. She checked in without excuses. She asked questions she used to avoid. She listened the way people do when they're choosing a side without admitting it to themselves. Choice is terrifying when you know it's permanent. Rayan didn't vanish. Men like him never do. They linger like bad weather, unpredictable and loud. He stopped calling Ayla directly and started appearing in her periphery instead, outside her office building, at the grocery store, once even across the street from the cafe, sitting in his car like a reminder. Presence is a language. He was speaking fluently. Ayla told me everything now, not because I asked, but because secrets had begun to feel heavier than fear. He says you're manipulating me, she said one evening, eyes fixed on the street outside the cafe, that you're filling my head with ideas. And do you believe him? She hesitated. That mattered. I think, she said slowly, he's afraid. Of what? Of being irrelevant. That was the first time she used the word herself. Mariam escalated next. It started with an email sent to Ayla's workplace, anonymous, carefully phrased, impossible to trace. It implied unprofessional behavior, suggested emotional instability. No accusations that could be proven false, just enough doubt to demand scrutiny. Ayla showed it to me with trembling hands. I've never given them a reason to question me, she said. People don't need reasons, they need permission. And Mariam was very good at granting it. Within days, Ayla was called into a meeting. Her supervisor, a woman who prided herself on neutrality, asked careful questions about stress, about her recent performance, about her support system. That phrase always appears before consequences. Ayla wasn't fired, not yet, but something shifted. Access limited, projects reassigned, a subtle exile disguised as concern. She blamed herself. She always did. That night, she came to my apartment for the first time. She stood just inside the doorway, uncertain, like crossing a threshold might confirm something she wasn't ready to name. You can leave any time, I told her. She didn't move. I don't want to, she said. So I closed the door. People think intimacy is about touch. It isn't. It's about permission. We sat on opposite ends of the couch. No urgency, no hunger, just presence. She told me about her mother, how love always felt transactional, about her father, how silence taught her to expect abandonment without warning. "I think I learned to be easy to leave," she said. I looked at her then. Really looked. "I don't leave," I said. The way I said it mattered. She didn't cry, she didn't smile, she just nodded, as if some internal debate had finally ended. We didn't sleep together that night. That restraint changed everything. Rayan noticed. He always noticed, too late. He confronted Ayla outside her apartment building again, but this time she didn't shrink. She stood straighter. She didn't apologize. When he raised his voice, she walked away. Rejection destabilizes people who rely on dominance. That night, he drank. He called Mariam. He talked too much. She listened. Mariam didn't care about Ayla's happiness. She cared about narrative, about making sure her brother was seen as the injured party, about control. She began documenting. Screenshots, dates, locations, conversations taken out of context, a version of reality constructed with surgical precision. She didn't plan to use it yet. She planned to wait. The first rumor surfaced 2 weeks later. Not about Ayla, about me. A mutual acquaintance, someone I barely remembered meeting, mentioned casually that I had a history, that I liked vulnerable women, that I inserted myself into relationships and watched them unravel. The words were soft, almost kind. That's how lies travel fastest. Ayla asked me about it directly. "I need you to be honest," she said. "I can't survive another half-truth." I admired her for that. "I've been accused of worse, but I've never lied to you." She studied my face, searching for fractures. "What do you want from me?" The question people ask when they're already afraid of the answer. I didn't flinch. "I want you to stop apologizing for wanting to exist fully, and I want you to choose what makes you feel alive, even if it scares you." That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters. She exhaled, long and shaky. "I'm scared," she admitted. "So am I." That surprised her. Obsession is always afraid of losing, of being seen, of becoming the villain in someone else's story. Mariam made her next move through Rayan. He showed up drunk at my building. I knew it was coming before it happened. Patterns don't lie. He pounded on my door, shouting accusations that sounded rehearsed, about manipulation, about betrayal, about stealing something that was never his to own. I let him speak. When he finally stopped, breathing hard, eyes wild, I opened the door. "You're done," I said. He laughed. "You think you've won?" "No," I replied. "I think you've lost." He stepped closer, too close. "You don't know what she's capable of. She ruins men." Projection is a confession. "You should leave," I told him. He did, but not before saying, "This isn't over." He was right. Ayla sensed it before I told her. "I feel like I'm being watched one night," she said. "Like every choice I make is being recorded somewhere." "That's because it is," I said. She stiffened. "What does that mean?" "It means someone wants to control the ending, and they think pressure will force you back into a version of yourself that felt manageable." Her voice shook. "Can they do that?" I looked at her, measuring the moment. "Only if you let them," I said, "or if you don't see it coming." Silence stretched between us. Then she said something that changed everything. "What if I don't want to be safe? What if I want to be honest instead?" That was the moment obsession stopped waiting, because honesty doesn't just free you, it declares war.